Well, you notice that when you fold the fabric and you cut it, the ends are on the diagonal. So that's great, because that's what you want. You don't want a seam that goes perpendicular to the edge of the piping. You want it to be on the diagonal so that the thickness is spread out a little bit. So you have two ends that are on the diagonal. And this is really a tricky little concept, but it's important. So I've decided that I can only remember to do this by placing these so that they make an A shape. For me, it's an A. It could be an arrow, it could be whatever you identify it, but nevertheless, for me, it's an A. And notice that you don't want to line up the edges with the points, this point at the upper point, like that, because if you were to sew that together, it would be offset. So you want to sew a 1/4 inch seam, and therefore you want to shift it and offset this piece so that the match of the corners is exactly at 1/4 inch. Right there is the connection. So in the seam allowance, which will be out here, you will have these little tails or these little points. Now I'm not going to go to the sewing machine and sew this, but I'm going to what I call pin sew it for you. You will be sewing this on a sewing machine with a regular stitch length and a nice 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once that's sewn, you would press this open, this little seam open. And now we have a straight line. It's really wonderful when you're working with a stripe or a plaid because there are natural diagonal definitions of the pattern. So I would be able to sew on one of those lines so that the pattern would be continuous and repetitive.